All right, thank you very much. I think it's time now we can move on to our last presentation from John Moore of New England Solar Hot Water, and then again, we'll have more time for questions at the end. But John, if you want to take it away.
Yes, hi, can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay, great. Yes, we're excited about participating, especially with these other two installers. We've worked with New England Ductless before, and we've done a couple of HeatSmart programs, and we're really excited to participate. Got a few slides here. I'm told too many, so I'll try to rush through them. I know it's getting late, so I'll be quick as possible. Who we are, we're a local company, 15 employees. You can see our president and owner on the left of that photo there, Bruce Dyke. He's our engineer. He is a hands-on type guy. He's at every job site. We have one crew, sometimes two going on one day, but basically each job is one at a time. And I'm an architect. I do marketing, sales, site assessment, and some of the design work. And then if anyone becomes one of our customers, they get to know Beverly Jacoby very well, customer service, and deals with permitting and human resources. We are a small company, but we've done a lot of work in business about 10 or 12 years now, and we have over 600 systems all operating now throughout New England, almost 90% of them in Massachusetts, big and small, and plenty of systems to look at and customers to talk to about their good experience with this technology. Solar hot water, it's pretty simple. It's very intuitive how it works. The panels on the roof collect heat basically by collecting heat onto the surface. There's what's called an absorber plate in every collector that gets hot like the dashboard of your car, and the collector also includes incorporated integral piping that collects that heat and brings it down to the solar storage tank in the basement. Two types of collectors that we use. The more common is the flat plate up above here in this diagram. Just as I described, a large absorber plate behind the glass and copper piping that runs a fluid across that plate to pick up the heat. There's also these evacuated tube type, which are a newer technology. They are actually vacuum tubes, but actually work the same way, where each tube includes a absorber plate and a pipe that collects the heat and then runs up to a manifold at the top and delivers it to the solar tank. Just a little quick primer about solar hot water. It's been around quite a while, in one form or another for hundreds of years, but in the current form, basically since the 60s and 70s. You can see here a photo of Jimmy Carter installing solar thermal in the White House in 1979 during the oil crisis at that time. There was quite a boom of solar thermal at that time, maybe because of his lead, and we're actually seeing systems that are still working that we're just taking down now and replacing with new systems. So it's a very robust technology. You can see these two pie charts here just showing how domestic hot water, which is the red part of the pie, is becoming a higher and higher percentage of total energy for homes, mainly due to the great work that installers like we're working with here in this program, reducing the home heating energy. So domestic hot water is a good chunk of energy to go after. This is a diagram of how a typical system works. You can see a couple collectors on the roof, solar storage tank, usually down in the basement. There's a closed loop of fluid that goes up cold, comes back warmer, that consists of water and glycol mix. The systems we install are called drain back systems, so that fluid does not run through the collectors unless the system's on, unless the sun is out and the tank is calling for heat. Otherwise, the fluid sits in what's called the drain back tank, the small tank mounted on the side of the larger tank. So most of the time the collectors are empty, so that keeps them from freezing or overheating. The storage tank is stainless steel. It's a lifetime warranty tank. It's not like your typical water heater. And we always add a backup system of some kind to mainly take over in wintertime when we don't get as much sun as usual. If there's more hot water use and isn't enough sun, the backup system can be integrated into the tank, either a electric element in the middle there shown by the dotted lines, or connection to a existing boiler like any indirect hot water tank. We can also preheat an existing tank. If customer has an existing tank that's in good shape and they want to prefer keeping that, we can put in a solar system that's in that diagram to the right and just take the cold water feed from the street, preheat it with the solar system, and then send it to the existing tank where any additional warming can happen if necessary, mainly in the wintertime. The tanks we use are lifetime warranty. They're made in Massachusetts. It's a very well-known brand here in Massachusetts, Superstore. They make indirect tanks for boilers, and they also have a line of solar tanks. So really happy with the tanks that we use. The piping between collectors and tanks are similar arrangement to what's used with heat pumps and mini splits. We use the same type of PVC cover. You can see the white line on the side of the house there. It's actually the pipe itself is actually corrugated stainless steel that comes pre-insulated in a roll and is very easy to run through attics and around corners and make it as discreet as possible. The brains of these systems, there's a little controller mounted on the tank there on the left. It shows you all kinds of information if you choose to look at it, but otherwise there's a big green light on it. That means everything's working properly. If the light turns red, then it's time to call us. And on the right is a monitoring data logger, which can be added if you want to be able to watch your system online at all times on a graph, and also a historical graphs of what the system's been doing. That's also available. Maintenance is really minimal with these drainback systems. As I said, the fluid is not in the collectors to overheat or freeze, so we provide a 4-year soup to nuts warranty, labor and material. As I said, the tanks are lifetime. The collectors and line set have 10-year warranties, but they are really built to last 20 years and more, and is evidenced by the systems installed during Jimmy Carter years that holds true. Not much maintenance other than maybe looking at the solar fluid every 5 to 7 years. The only real moving part is the solar pump, those little green pumps at the bottom of the tank there. Those need to be replaced every 10 or 12 years. Folks have talked about the incentives for these systems for all the technologies in this program. Solar Hot Water has 4 major incentives plus the 0% financing that Jeremy mentioned. So we have the alternative energy certificates, a CEC rebate, the financing, a federal tax credit, which is the typical solar tax credit that's available for PV as well, and also a Massachusetts tax credit on your Massachusetts income tax. This is quick numbers for a typical system, family of 4, 3 of our smaller collectors on the roof, 80-gallon tank in the basement. You can see system price of around $9,000. And after all the 4 incentives that I just described, you get a net cost below $3,000. A system like this actually has a big bang for its buck in terms of CO2 savings. You know, if you're offsetting an oil boiler with an indirect tank, for instance, in this case, you get a pretty quick payback, and it's equivalent to saving as much CO2 as a 1.5-acre forest. For moderate income, as Jeremy mentioned, the rebate and other incentives are increased substantially. So you can see a same system as the one shown previously, $9,000 system. You end up with a net cost of around $800 for a family of four. So great investment for families with moderate income. We do quite a few moderate income installations, both single family and multifamily. Multifamily is also something we really push, especially 2 and 3 family homes. You end up getting real economy of scale with these systems because you might have a 2-family house where you don't really have to buy 2 systems. You can just enlarge one system by adding a collector, maybe getting a larger tank. And you end up with a net cost that's maybe 1.5 times what 2 systems would cost. So, and that even gets better as you go up to 3-family and 4-family systems. So we really encourage people to look at that. We've done quite a few of them as part of the HeatSmart program in other towns where folks get together either in a condo or in a rental situation and get one system serving all the hot water heaters in the building. Just some photos quickly showing that for solar hot water, we don't really need a lot of roof space. It's not like solar PV, so we can usually find a spot somewhere. Doesn't have to face due south, just not due north. We can go all the way from east to west and still get good energy to make the numbers work. And because we don't have a lot of collectors, we can mount in different ways. We can mount as awnings, shade windows, or we can tilt up on flat roofs, which is typical in our commercial jobs. Even taking a north-facing roof, that lower right-hand photo, and tilting towards south to get the production that we need. We have a lot of customers that have PV already and they add solar hot water or do both at the same time. The solar hot water collectors produce, because they're so much more efficient than a PV panel in terms of the amount of solar energy that they are able to utilize, take up less roof space for the same amount of energy. So a lot of times people will opt for PV and add solar hot water as well for their hot water needs. Mentioned small multifamily. Again, we have a lot of examples of this. You can see some here. The one lower right, for instance, that was a 2-family house where their roof was full of PV, but they had a garage in the back. So we added system back there and preheated both hot water tanks in that 2-family. Worked out well. We also do small commercial systems, so for a variety of uses. So anyone that uses hot water, if there's community centers or health clubs or small condo buildings, dorms. The lower right example is interesting. It's a catering company, uses tons of hot water for dishwashing, installed awning type evacuated tube collectors to cut down their energy bill. We also do larger systems, same technology for large apartment buildings or heating plants. It's just more collectors, bigger tank, but the same idea, just collecting heat to heat exchanger and preheating the water to the backup system. Customers, I mentioned there are plenty of customers to talk to. We have 4 or 5 in Melrose and a couple that have signed up just recently as well, and happy to introduce potential customers to our existing customers. One thing, this one testimonial there near the bottom, Rex of Medway, I just want to mention, can actually use his bathtub. I mentioned that because our installers are plumbers, so oftentimes when we're installing the solar system, there are other plumbing issues that need to be addressed having to do with their hot water system. We spend the whole day there, so we're happy to address those as well. Just to mention the coronavirus, I've talked to many of the folks interested in Melrose right now, and there's been, concern over that. When we do our site assessments, I can either do them virtual or do them stay outside, and obviously always wearing a mask and staying distanced. Our crew members follow the same best practices during the installation. And here's our contact information, and that's all we have. Thank you.